Hello, everybody, and thanks for joining us today. I'm Todd Baginski, and I'm joined as always by my buddy Charles Sterling here today. And today we're bringing you the December 2021 Power Apps Community Call. So, in case you haven't joined us before, we do this every single month, and this is our third year of doing this now. Yeah, we'll be going into year 4 starting next year. So we do this every month on the third Wednesday. Kicks off at the same time, 8 a.m. Pacific time. And what do we do in this call? Well, we do everything there is to do with Power Apps and Power Platform. We meet people who are on the Power Apps team at Microsoft, like Brian and Emma joining us today. Some of the very first two folks I ever met in Power Apps world, 3-4 years ago, something like that, when we all got to work on something together. So it's really neat to see you both back here today and sharing what you're still working on in Power Apps too. And so sometimes folks from the Microsoft team join us and tell us about what they're working on, what's coming. Other times, folks from the community and all around the world just say, hey, this is something cool I'm doing with Power Apps, or check out how to do this with Power Apps. So we always get together every month and learn from each other on how to build Power Apps and have a great time doing it. This call couldn't be possible without more than just Chuck and myself. So that's me on the right. That's Chuck on the left, and Heather and Andrew are also a big part of this every month. They help put the word out that it's happening. They produce the videos afterward and post them so everyone can watch them afterward. So from all of us to you, Merry Christmas, Happy New Year, Happy Holidays, and thank you to everyone who makes this call possible every month. Another huge part of this call is the community aspect. That's what this is, right? The community call. So we have a hashtag, of course, because you can't have a call without a hashtag nowadays, right? So our hashtag is PowerAppsCC. And if you look in that hashtag, you can find all kinds of things that people are learning in this call or sharing or participating in. The other really cool thing about this call is the chat that's available to you right now if you're in it. We have folks in here who are on the Microsoft team, Fast Track Recognized Solution Architects, MVPs, Power Apps Champions, Power Addicts. Everybody who loves working with Power Apps is right here now on the call to help you out. So if you're blocked, you don't know how to do something, you're just getting started, ask a question. There's dozens of people here who love to help, and you'll get flooded with answers. Lastly, I'd like to give a shout out to everybody who's tweeting PowerApps PC and spreading the good word about the call. You can see in my fun little word art there, that's all the folks who tweeted this hashtag last month. Thanks for spreading the good word. So that's all about our call, and let's get into the real content on why we're here today, is to chat with Brian and Emma about some really cool things with Power Apps. So the first one is what Brian created, and Brian makes video games with Power Apps, and he's been doing this since Power Apps started, and it really inspired me when I got started in Power Apps. And so what was it, a couple months ago, Brian? I reached out to you because I saw you posted on Twitter you had the Xbox controller working, and I was like, what the heck? Brian's got to come on and show us about this. So that's how this all got started today. So I'm going to hand it over to you now, Brian, and let you amaze us all with this really fun topic today.
Great. I'll go ahead and take over the screen, and I'll start by giving you some details about what is possible with Power Apps today on the Xbox. So here I have my Xbox. I'm streaming it from a capture card. And just so that there's no wondering if this is real or not, this is really my Xbox. All of your apps today can be opened on your Xbox already. That's a given. So the first type of app that I'd like to show you is just a basic using the Xbox remote as a kind of like a mouse. So the left stick will move the cursor. The right stick is kind of like a scrolling. And then the A button is like clicking. So if the only thing that your app needs is just like a mouse or a kind of cursor, then you're all done. Your app will work on the Xbox, no issue at all. But you want to do more interesting things and get more out of your remote. So some apps that you make, you might want to move things. So here I have a different app. This one is a Halloween kind of game. It lands on a screen for accessibility settings. And I think this is a good pattern that just throwing a nugget out there that anytime you build a game, you should start with those accessibility settings. A quick win for anybody trying to use your app. So I got things like text size and language and so on. So I'll go ahead and click save. This is a kind of puzzle game, and I'll ask for some help here. Let's do level 3. And what's different about this game is I'm holding down the menu button, and that brings up, it's kind of like a right click. And I could change between using the gamepad as a cursor or using the gamepad as the buttons themselves. So I'll go ahead and click use game controls, and you can see this time for this game, I'm using the left stick to move my selection. And I could use the D-pad as well. When I hold down the A button, I could change the direction and swap it where it needs to go. Okay, so that's another example of just a basic app using the cursor, using the left and right sticks for movement. Now let's go a little bit more complex here. Here's a ship game. You probably saw some demos of this. I will click here. I've got some settings, but I'll go ahead and click this next button. Move my mouse out of the way. And let me increase the volume just a little bit so you can hear the music. And then let me change a couple settings here. Okay, so there's a little cheat menu here. I'm gonna make myself invulnerable just for the sake of this demo. But I could, one second. I could hold down the, let me refresh this. I could use this just like I would, let me go ahead and refresh this. I could use it just as if I were to, see, I think it zoomed in, and I'm not sure how to zoom back out on the Xbox. So let me exit full screen and change the zoom here. Okay, and let me show you this last game because I want you to get a feel for how games are made inside the Xbox. What you're seeing here is not as complex as the last ship room game, but check out the boxes. These dots that you see on the screen are the playing characters, and the box around it is the area that other things will bump into. It should really be a circle, but I just chose box. Now I could move this character, and let me switch to game controls. So I can move this character with my gamepad, and I could add another character on the screen, and you can see that our boxes are going to bump into each other. If I try to walk into this wall, it will bump. What if I stand next to this other character? Again, this should be circles. We're actually bumping it together as circles. You can see my life bar is changing, but what's really happening here? Well, everything here is working inside a table. The grid in the background is a table, and then if I push this button, I change it and I skin the app to the actual visuals. So I'm actually fighting this character here. And I could switch back between these modes. I wanted to show you this because every game that you make is just a table. So with these demos shown, let me switch over to what we're going to be making today. And Todd, can I get confirmation that sound and everything is coming through?
Yeah.
It's a little late to be asking that, but okay. So let me jump over to, what are we going to be making today? I'm going to be showing you how you can get started by making apps that use the gamepad. So your apps can already be opened in PowerApps, but the ones that you might not be making today are the ones that use a gamepad. We're going to be creating the details of the player. We're going to move it. We're going to improve that movement with some neat functions, and then we're going to rotate the player, and that's all going to fit in the next 20 minutes. And I'll try to get your involvement every now and then. So let's hop over to how to get started. I pasted a couple links inside the chat. Today, I'm going to be using John Liu's Gamepad PCF component. He created this so that the browser, every modern browser, can communicate with what's called the Gamepad API. In other words, it's an API that will react to the inputs of a gamepad. So this is already pasted in the chat. You can scroll up to grab it. Once you download this, and John was kind enough to export it as a zip file for me, you'll go to PowerApps Admin Center first. I'm going to jump to an existing environment that I have, and I want to enable PCF components for this environment. So this is my prod environment. I click Settings at the top. Zoom in here. Click Settings at the top of this environment. I expand the product category and click into Features. Inside the features, you can enable things like geospatial services, mixed reality. I think mixed reality is here. Collaboration. I'm going to enable PowerApps component framework for Canvas apps. Mine's already on. Once you set that, click Save at the bottom of those settings, and your environment will be set up so that it can import PCF components. I'm going to jump to my environment now. So I'm in make.powerapps.com, the PowerApps portal. I go to Solutions. I click Import at the top. Then on the right side of the screen, I'm going to browse for the Gamepad component. Let's type in Gamepad. I search for a zip file that I have with the Gamepad component. I click Next at the bottom. Now, I already have this component inside my solution or inside my environment, so I don't really have to do this again. But you would click Import Next and follow the instructions on screen. Okay, I'll go ahead and cancel this. So the components inside that environment, now any app that I make, I can potentially add that component inside the app. So let's go ahead and start our app. I'll click New App, Canvas app.
I have a question about the component that John made. Did John write the API that talks to the Gamepad, or did he just wrap it and someone else wrote that Gamepad API library?
The interesting thing about the Gamepad API, I don't know why it's called API, but it's just this native capability inside a browser that listens for the inputs. I'm not too technical on the details behind how it works. He wrote the component which listens to those inputs.
Okay, cool.
Yeah. So I'll go ahead and start by giving my app a name. Today, I'm just going to make I'll just call it the PowerApps community call. PowerApps community call. I'll click Create. I'm making this in a tablet form factor. Okay, so the first thing I'll do is show you how to insert that PCF component. Well, when you want to insert things, you click the Insert menu on the left side of the screen. Go to the bottom where it says Get More Components. There are two categories of components today: Canvas apps components and code components. Well, that PCF component, the Gamepad component, is a PCF component. It's going to be fitting under code. Okay, I'll click Code at the top, and then I'll select the Gamepad component and import. So now my app is, go ahead and save this. My app now has that Gamepad component in it. For selection, I'll add it to the canvas and show you what it looks like. So here on the left side of the screen, I click Components and bring in that component. Okay, you see it's this blank square right now. Now my computer has an Xbox controller connected to it right now. This one's connected by USB. Really what this Gamepad component does is it listens to the connected USB devices. So if I were to start changing this, you see right away that I get the inputs of this controller. If I move the stick, I can see that the numbers in that first part change. There's another stick that changes numbers. I can push buttons and they return true or false. If they are clicked, they also return 1 or 0, 1 being true, 0 being false. All right. So I have confirmation that that gamepad is working and it's being pulled into this app. What I want to do next is bring in a nice control just to keep all my things organized. And we're joined by Emma today, who had a hand in making these container controls. I'm going to insert a vertical container, just to keep things nice and tidy. I'm going to cut this PCF component, paste it in here, and we're going to have a lot of controls today. Okay, so I'll bring that on the left side. Next, this is where I want you to be involved. I'm going to create that player. So jumping back to the roadmap here, we're going to create details for a player that we're going to move. Okay, so let's do this in a variable. I'm going to set something that I'm calling set this player to this thing. Okay, so let me start it off, and then I want to get some ideas from you. And Todd, if you could read out some of the ideas. I don't have a view of the chat right now. So when I describe a player, I'm going to start with its name. Okay, my player's name. We'll just use my cat's name, Abby. Okay, how else would you describe a player? Well, it's got a position in the X direction, a position in the Y direction. Okay, Todd, any inputs on how you would describe a player?
Haven't seen any yet, but I was wondering when I first saw the input how I would hack this and build an auto clicker. Oh, are they masked? Is the player masked?
Okay, that's probably like a true or false, right?
Makes sense.
Okay.
Yeah. Color, rotation.
Okay, for color, I'll do RGB. Yeah, just do a couple quick ones here. 0 to 1. 0, 1, 22, 1, 2, 1. I like that color.
Height or size?
Size, I like to do as a combination of width. Let's do 100 and height. 100.
Jim Duncan,
I'm going to do
Jim
an
Duncan
avatar.
mentions lives.
Lives. Okay.
Yeah.
Health, direction. Oh, they're flowing in now.
Yeah. I'm not going to do them all.
You got.
I'm not going to do them. I'm going to move on.
Okay.
So the important things today is X and Y position. I'm going to add just a couple more things here. Speed 1.00. There's going to be a multiplier for the speed that it's going. And then I'll add rotation. 0. Okay. So no matter what you're doing, I'm going to create this player as a record. Then, as I mentioned earlier, all games are tables, just a bunch of tables. So I'm going to collect that, collect that to a collection that I'm calling the sprites. Sprites are a word to describe the things inside the app. So I'm going to collect that player to this table. I'm not going to use that table for today's demo, but I just want you to see that I'm going to be manipulating the details of this player inside that table if I were to create this actual app. Okay, I'll change the text on this button just to say reset. Reset. Okay. I'll go ahead and insert an icon. Let's insert an icon on the screen. This is going to be my player. Okay, I'll rename this control as I go along, just so that I don't lose track of these. Now, I did create some properties for this player, so let's go ahead and fill it in as much as we can. So for the icon, I created a property called var player dot the avatar. And before I do anything else, let's click this button. If I zoom out, I set this player's avatar to a bug. I gave this player an X property and a Y property. So let's fill that in. The X property is var player dot X. The Y property is var player dot Y. Now I have those things set up. I'm going to change those numbers over time. And I'll show you the concept of a game loop. I'm going to insert a timer on the screen. And this timer is going to have a very short interval of about 50 milliseconds. And every game uses this kind of idea. It's a looping timer. At the end of that timer, it's going to do something. Well, I'm going to reset that character's position by a certain amount. Let's go ahead and create that amount as a slider. I'll insert a slider and set its value to about 4 pixels. I will name this slider the distance that my character is going to travel. Now, I haven't gotten to the part where I'm using the gamepad yet. Let's go ahead and do that. How do I listen for this gamepad? This time, I'm going to do these controls outside of the container just so I can make a point about its location. Now, the D-pad on the gamepad has 4 directions, and I could use this website called Gamepad Tester to find out which button, what's the name of that button. Button 12 is up, button 13 is down, button 14 is left, button 15 is right. So in the app, I'm going to show you when I'm clicking those buttons. I'll use a toggle. And I'll go ahead and insert 4 of these. Up, down, a left, and a right one, just to make it a point. And let's go ahead and name these. Toggle up, toggle down, toggle left, and toggle right. Okay, so for this first toggle, when I want to detect that I'm pushing up, I could reference that gamepad component. So I'll type gamepad dot, and this is where I can pull up all the different properties. It has all of these different X axes, Y axes. Button 12 is the one I want for up. Right now it's 0 because I'm not pressing it. And if I press 1, I can see that it changes. And I'll copy that, go to the down button. Down is 13, left is 14, and right is 15. So when I've got this ready, I can see that when I press the buttons, they react. So how am I going to use that? Well, every time this timer ends, I'm going to check if any of those is on. So toggle up, toggle down, toggle left, toggle right. If any of those is true, I'm going to update my player. And the player can have many properties. But if I only want to change a couple of properties, I'm going to patch it. I'm going to take the existing value of the player, and inside these brackets, I'm only going to modify the X and the Y. So the X property, I'm going to keep it at its same X property. The Y property, I'll reference its existing Y property. If I were to do nothing right now, all this formula is doing is, if I'm pressing one of those buttons, it'll keep that same position. I don't want to keep the same position, though. I want to add that slider, right? The value of that distance. So about 4 pixels when it's moving. And if I'm moving left in the X direction, I want to subtract that number. minus 4 pixels. If I'm moving right, I want to add 4 pixels. So if I'm traveling to the left, then I want to subtract. If I'm traveling to the right, I want to multiply by 1, which is adding that number. I'm going to copy that kind of logic to the second one and change it so that if I'm traveling up, I'm subtracting. If I'm traveling down, I'm adding.
Hey, Brian, I'm curious about your choice to use the slider. Do you choose that so that as you develop your game, you can quickly adjust those values and say, yes, this feels right as I'm moving my joystick and playing with it?
Exactly. So I like to tweak it as I go along because I don't really know how well it's going to go.
4 pixels, 8 pixels, right? Who knows what's going to feel? Oh, Craig was showing off in his difficulty in his game, and he would take variables like that at higher levels of difficulty and change them. Do you also do that?
Yeah. So you could adjust them with a level. So you could multiply that speed if you wanted to even more. Yeah.
So those principles are crossing over between how he architected his game app and how you're doing it too. That's nice to see.
Yeah.
Well, it's moving.
So here, yep. Here I'm pushing those buttons, and if pushed 2 at a time, it can do both directions, X and Y. So that's one. Now let's go back to the roadmap. Let's squeeze in whatever we can in the remaining time. So I moved the player. Let's refine it. These are 2 patterns that I like a lot. What if you didn't want the, let me make it a point about it. What if, oh no, they're going off screen. What if you don't want that? Well, here's a nice pattern that you could use. And I'm going to start spacing things out a little bit more. Here I'm adding this amount. So this is the original amount. And this is the displacement, the amount that you're changing. Okay, what if you wanted to keep that within certain bounds? Well, I could wrap it around a minimum level and a maximum level. This is the part where it gets kind of confusing, where I'm going to use the maximum function so that it doesn't get smaller than 0. And I'm going to use the minimum function so that it doesn't exceed the width of the screen, which is parent.width. So between the minimum and the maximum, if I wrap those 2 functions around whatever this number is, I didn't do the Y direction yet. So if I try to go to the X here, and let's use a giant number. Okay. If let's see. Parent.width. This should be the screen width of the entire screen. So this is the screen 1.width. Okay, sorry. It was relative to the container there. Let me show you one more thing. So that's the X direction. Now, what if you wanted it to wrap? Now I'll do this with the Y direction. You wanted the player to warp to the other side of the screen. Well, you could use this mod function and use the screen 1.height to do that. And I'll just make a point of it here. If I push up, it warps to the other side. So those are 2 nice quick patterns that you could do. We didn't get to rotation today, but that's okay. You have the game component. You can see how you can use it into your own apps and add some motion or selection to your app. And with that, I want to thank you for having me, and I'll hand it over to Emma, who's going to be showing you some collaboration features. So Emma, why don't you take it away?
Thanks, Brian. We really appreciate you coming back and showing this to us. Chuck put a link to a USB Xbox controller in the chat. We're all wondering how many are going to be sold tonight. That was really neat. You're such a good teacher. Thanks for sharing that. I can't wait to do it myself. Now that I see you do it in 20 minutes, I'm stoked. We're going to have a little bug crawling around our screen tonight, too. All right, Emma. Emma's not doing video games, folks. We actually have a non-video game topic on the call that hasn't happened in a couple months. So this is
Yeah.
exciting though. I know everyone's been waiting for this for a long time.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, I hope everyone won't be bored and they're all gonna leave now that we're not doing video games. But yeah, thanks for having me. It's great to see all the familiar faces and chats and everything. So today, we're talking about collaboration and really kind of all about how low code is a team sport and a bunch of the new features that are really helping people work together. So basically, very rarely apps are made entirely in a silo. There's definitely a lot of folks at different organizations, like you can think of a citizen developer start working on their own, and maybe they start working with other people, or they get help from their IT folks in order to get the right environment set up and creation experiences so they can go do things properly. Or even they might leverage fancy PCF controls like Brian showed that they use from someone else. So quite frequently, there's actually like teams or different members in different roles all working together to build digital solutions. And really what Gartner calls these, and you'll start to hear this term a lot from Microsoft, I imagine, they're called fusion teams. And so we want to enable more fusion teams and more collaboration across the Power Platform, really because, our whole thing is building business apps fast, or, building video games fast, as it were. But the ability to divide and conquer and have, only one person can only output so much. When you have a team of people, you can do a whole bunch of different stuff and move faster and avoid single points of failure. You can also, with different domain expertise, let people work on what they're passionate about. And so, if I'm a person in the business and I've got a super cool finance background, I can take and leverage all my knowledge about all the different processes and regulations and apply that to the app and kind of like make sure that, all that business knowledge is incorporated. And likewise in terms of skills, people have trained up on different aspects and different skills over time. Some folks are super familiar with databases or IoT connecting to different devices, or even like UX design. And they should be able to contribute all of these different types of skills towards the project to ultimately create a higher quality app at the end of the day. And so in Microsoft and in PowerApps, we actually see apps that are created by, fusion teams and teams of people have 25% more engagement than apps that are built by those alone. So they tend to have more users and more people using them over time, which is really, really cool. And so just as a heads up, the general shape of a fusion team that we're seeing across organizations is we tend to have a core maker team, which is kind of like the train on the tracks. This is like the people who are in the weeds of the project. They're the ones who are actually like in the experiences, working on the apps and on the data, and kind of like, identifying the next steps and solving the bugs. And doing everything on the way. But they're this could be just one citizen dev, this could be two, this could be a multidisciplinary group of individuals. But ultimately, there's also a lot of other folks in the organization that support them, that are kind of like an auxiliary support team. So this could be like other makers in the organization, admins that are helping clearing blockers, leadership that's coming in at different decision points to help, direct the project, or even folks of the community who might jump on a call with you, or you get an answer from, in order to get unblocked and take the next steps. So this is kind of how we're thinking about fusion teams, and we want to really kind of help enable, the way things are already working and the way people are collaborating better in the platform. And so with that, there's, a couple of really exciting announcements of stuff that has been released recently. At Ignite, we announced office style commenting, and it's across the Power Platform, not just Power Apps, but basically you can add comments and reply to threads and resolve and delete comments and mention people, just like you would across all of the Office products in PowerPoint and Word and Excel, just like that, except in Power Apps, Power Automate, and Power Virtual Agent, which is super, super exciting. And so here I have a GIF of the modern app designer where I can go in and add a new comment, and this lives alongside with the app. And so if I have other people coming in and also working on it, I can leave context. I can leave notes about things that are yet needed to do or cautions, and I can reply to different threads so we can have conversations with each other that stay in the context of the app. And when I'm all done, I can go and resolve the thread and remove them. And you can see on the left-hand side that there's the different anchor points to let me know what items have comments on them. So definitely super exciting. And even more exciting to help people pull in the folks that they need in their organization. You can actually mention people, and they will be able to get access to the app and go right to where that comment had been made. And so they'll receive an email very much like the Office style, yet still retaining a lot of the Power Platform aspects of it. And if they click that button, they'll go direct into that app where the comment is and be able to collaborate with people. So super, super, super exciting. It's definitely rounding out the collaborative capabilities. And before people ask, so our GA timeframe for the modern app designer is just in a couple months in the new year, and then in Canvas apps slightly a couple months later. So super, super soon.
Emma, quick question. You said the comments are stored in the solution. Somebody had asked, are these comments stored in the solution? Is there any historical record?
Yeah, so these comments are actually their own table in Dataverse. So all of the comments and their anchors are in the Dataverse table. So you can actually go and audit and see all the comments and everything like that.
Cool. Very cool.
Awesome. So that's it for comments. I hope folks are excited about trying that out. And in terms of whether it is stored in Dataverse, but we're actively working on making sure that that's not a blocker for core collaboration functionality. And so that it won't be an issue for too much longer. Currently, right now, this feature is reliant on Dataverse, and hopefully soon we'll be able to figure out a way to enable that for everyone. So switching gears over to co-authoring. So everyone on this call is probably familiar with this dialogue if you're working with other folks on an app where currently there's only one person allowed in at a time. And it can be very frustrating and limiting in terms of helping people work together. And so really something really exciting is that at Ignite, we announced experimental co-authoring for PowerApps. And so we're going to talk a little bit about it, do a quick demo, and yeah, that'll be super good. So there's a blog and some docs that kind of walk through how to do this and have all the latest details on how to get set up, what the current known limitations are, and everything like that. Cool. So basically how this experimental co-authoring works is kind of like our traditional software development, where you essentially are each working on a copy of the app, and then you intentionally decide when you want to merge. So basically I would work in app 1 and I wouldn't see, what Brian's working on in his copy of the same app, but I can, select when I want to merge, and my changes would kind of go to the master branch or source control. And I would also be able to fetch any changes that Brian has made there as well. And so this relies on the YAML interpretation for Canvas apps. And so here's the GIF that was in the blog, but we'll take a look in what it looks like and how to set it up in demo. So Emily on the left, John on the right. You can go, Emily adds, a label and updates things. Notice that this is the exact same studio experience except for one little refresh button. So everyone can use the same tools that they're used to. So they can go, if John goes and presses refresh, he's able to get the Hello World label and information from the repo that Emily worked on, and he can go and make changes and then commit them. And when Emily goes and does the same refresh, she can fetch all the changes that John has made. And so if we go and look in DevOps, we can go see the screen as well as like who made what changes that are there. So really super powerful to be able to have the kind of same experience and tools we're used to building apps to do most of the work, but also have the same kind of Git-powered integration aspects to see and manage all of the changes on the back end. And so it doesn't have to be DevOps. It could be GitHub or Bitbucket or any Git provider. But this is certainly a very exciting step for us. And so to quick jump over to the demo, I'm short on time, so we'll go quick.
You're okay.
Okay.
You can go like at least another 8 minutes.
Okay, cool. I want to make sure I'm a good participant. So this is the docs that everyone can have access to. And so here you can see like there's all the different steps and screenshots and everything for doing this. I wanted to call that out because it's not just this call that you will see it on. There's other documentation to help you through and get set up. And so over to our app. So this is a net new app. So in order to kind of get started, the first thing you need to do is to save the app. So make sure you save it and it's saved. And then from here on, I can go to settings and upcoming features, experimental, and I can like search Git. And so there'll be this setting that I need to turn on. So basically, I turn this on and I get a new kind of section in our settings where I can go set up my Git version control. And so here I can go and hit connect, and I need to fill out everything for a Git repository. So I would put my URL here, what branch I want, and the name of the directory that would be in the repo. And so I have an app where I've set this up already, but once you kind of set this up and hit apply, the app will then be connected to that repo, and all the changes that will be made when you hit commit will go there. And so if I go to the app where I've already done this, here we have our hello button, and I have another screen where I've just added a list really quickly. So that's what it looks like. And if I've just gone and connected it to this repo, experimental Git 123, we can see that on screen 1, I have my hello button, as well as on screen 2. I have all of the different sets of controls that are on screen 2. And so now if I go back to the app, we can go and add something new, just a label, and I can say, hello, community. Apparently I have caps on. That's great. There we go. And we can just hit save or the commit button. And if we go back to our Git over here and refresh the page, or it's actually already there, we can see that it says hello community with all of the different properties that I've set available right there in Git. And so if multiple people were working on this, we would be able to see everybody who's done this and be able to see exactly what changes and everything that they've made. And so super exciting stuff. So this is just kind of like the beginning bits of how you can see all of this co-authoring stuff coming together. Definitely just the start, because there's definitely some known limitations around how that's actually working. And so some things are like the PCF components are still kind of iffy. So that's definitely one known limitation that we're currently working through. And in the future, we don't want it to be just Canvas apps. We want it to be entire solutions and everything across the Power Platform, able to have multiple people working on it and have that kind of source control view. But today we're starting off with Canvas because we have a lot to learn here is the big part. And that's part of why we wanted to put it in experimental. Co-authoring is definitely a super challenging area to go and build around, and especially knowing, how we should handle merge conflicts, what UI set of UI is needed, how, low code, no code can we be with this type of co-authoring and get integration. In all of the Office products today, they are very opinionated and they pick a winner if there's a merge conflict. And currently we're doing that too. There is no merge conflict resolution. It's the last person wins. But we know we probably have to introduce some capabilities there in order to help people address those conflicts. And so I guess like the call to action for this would be, come and tell us about, if you try it out, tell us about your experience, what issues you've run into. We definitely want to continue working and making this great and able to be something useful for everyone. And in the future, we want to have, real-time co-authoring just the same way that you would use in Office. So you're able to see who else is there at the same time, see what changes they make. They can see what changes you're making. And so like the first phase will be multiple viewers where multiple people can get in and view, but we don't handle any of the edits gracefully. And then we will add in the co-editing capabilities for this. So kind of making sure that this is, a multiplayer game. Everyone can come in and see who's there and collaborate together. And it's definitely a super exciting space. And so like I pulled this quote. I couldn't find who like the original origins of the proverb, but like alone I go faster, together we go further. And I would probably say with the Power Platform, we go together further and faster. And so, thank you so much for coming and kind of like spending the time to hear a little bit about collaboration. I am happy to take a look at the chat and answer any questions now because I was not really able to keep up on it while I was presenting. So thank you, everyone.
Emma, thank you, Emma. These are great things. A couple questions right off the bat that I've got saved here. And then we can jump into wrapping up the call. A couple of folks, Phil asked, are there other pre-requirements for co-authoring? I'm not seeing this in our tenant.
Yeah, so right now it is currently rolling out to folks. I can double check the kind of like deployment rollout because around the holidays it gets a little weird because people are out. And so I can double check when it will be everywhere for everyone.
Cool. The second one was kind of an observation Matt had. We were talking about this yesterday together too. Do you have a recommendation regarding co-authoring? For instance, would you recommend that I edit one page while Matt's editing another page in there? Or do you say, go have at it and edit everything together?
So I think when people think about co-authoring, they're always worried that everyone's going to edit the same things and step on each other's toes in that way. But really, if you think about other cases where we have co-authoring, like if we're in, PowerPoint, for example, and we're all jamming together on a slide deck, you tend to naturally avoid where other people are working on things because even in PowerPoint, you can go and edit the same slide at the same time, but even then we tend not to, right? Because we want to kind of like coordinate that. And so I would say like in terms of recommendations, we see most people kind of divide things up at the screen level today if they're kind of like collaborating on different, sets of UI and controls and stuff. We tend to see people naturally divide at the screen level. So like that works. I would say like if you're working together on the same, properties at the same time, like probably not great.
Right.
So you might want to coordinate a little with each other there.
Cool. Awesome. That's some great stuff. I have a lot more questions here too. I'll let you get to the ones in chat there, but I think I'll hit you with a follow-up email later today if that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Happy to follow up with anyone. This is all brand new, so I'm sure there's a lot of questions.
Right, especially when it's in that experimental phase still. Awesome. Well, thanks again, Emma. And come back again, please. We always have great features you're working on.
Sure thing.
Super. Okay, well, that brings us to our last part of the call then, everybody. So we would like to walk you through where you can learn more about Power Apps. So if you're brand new to this, and if Brian and Emma got you excited today, which I'm sure they did about working with this technology, here's where you can go to learn more about it. There's all kinds of places where you can find videos and trainings and samples and things. So check all these places out. They're really easy to find, and you'll be amazed how much content is there to help you. So we also have a lot of news here today, don't we, Chuck? I'll let you take us through it here.
Yeah, we do. Last Sunday, actually, the team announced the fact that there is actually a brand new quick reports for model-based applications. So if you're looking at a model-based application, you'll notice at the top, there is, if you turn on this experimental feature, there is actually now View in Power BI, and it actually generates these reports for the entities that you're looking at for your model-based applications. So this is very cool. The link is at the bottom, and that was actually released last Sunday, I believe it was. This blog post will be live in 7 minutes. So you're actually getting a kind of a preview for this. This is almost, I put it in there just for Todd. So there's actually 3 new big settings that are available in the December tools refresh. First of all, the connection references is now general available. So that's very, very cool. People have been waiting that for quite a while. And then also based on requests, we've actually added 2 new settings for the CLI itself. There is an online version that lets you go ahead and actually in your CI/CD pipelines, actually set the versioning strategy that you want to use rather than actually the one that we're using. And then also, if you want to go ahead and delete the solutions from a command line or from within your extensions, you can now do that as part of, again, your CI/CD pipeline. So these are going to be big. And again, there's going to be a link in the slides. I didn't bother putting it in here right now because it won't be live for another 6 minutes. I think I'm going to continue on for the Power Apps community stuff. So we have had this as a fixture for the last 4 or 5 months, but the reason it's still there is because we actually keep adding new features. So user group presidents have gone out and said, hey, we really want our events themselves to actually be able to have rich text so I can have my speakers, pictures, etc. That's actually now enabled. So if you go out and take a look at any new events as a leader or actually as a participant, you can actually now see that there are rich text enabled. Time zones, we actually had some struggles with time zones. You can now set that. You can actually set the time zone that you want it to be. And again, there's people I see like Hal's on the call. Hal lives in the UK, but he runs the Turkish user group. So there's actually 2 time zones, so he can actually set it up. Also, the display. Right now, we are at, well, today is not so much a problem, but 3 or 4 days ago, if you're at 12/12/21 or 12/11/21, is that December 11th or is that November 12th? And you can actually go ahead and coming soon is we're actually going to have that displayed as the acronym for the month itself. So it would actually be NOV or DEC. And that's actually something that we're working on and coming soon. And then finally, if you are a user group leader, we're actually having our first all up user group leaders. Make sure to look at the community for that invitation. But that will actually be January 25th, not December. I made a mistake. That's January 25th. My apologies. It is not Christmas Day. I get a couple call outs for great community events. And actually it ties really well back in with the user group. So as a user group leader like myself and other user group leaders, we're getting together to have this one global Power Platform boot camp. And it's actually kind of fun. So I actually have the Vancouver user group participate, and then I jump over to the Cambridge user group and actually present over there. So if you're a user group leader or a user group member, watch this space where we're actually going out and publishing and promoting your user group efforts. So check out this great event. Speaking of great events, arguably arguably one of the largest of our Power Platform conferences is actually coming up in February. There's actually a couple shout outs. I think Ralph is presenting at it. I know that Cheryl works at it. So again, probably one of the largest and actually definitely one of the most fun. So make sure and attend the Scottish Summit if you actually have this time available. I think the next slide is April. So yes, April, we're going to cover this off today.
Awesome. Thanks. Yeah, so just wanted to remind everyone that we have some awesome PnP samples on our Power Platform PnP Samples repo. We had a few new ones since I last spoke here. So we have some great samples by Matthew Devaney on responsive containers. A visual guide to that. We have a Fluent UI theme sample for PowerApps as well from Fabio Franzini. So lots of great samples. Definitely encourage you all. I need to reach out to John Liu and have his awesome Gamepad sample on the repo too there for sure. So if you have any PowerApps related samples at all, or all of the Power Platform, we take it all. Just go to aka.ms/Power Platform-samples, and we'll make sure to highlight you every month here, and just be able to reach your samples to even more people.
Awesome. Thanks, April. Rory reached out to me yesterday, a day before as well, and there is a new Power Apps for Kids session going on. Yes, got some kids on the call again. Familiar face. Hi. Good to see you again. Yeah. And so we've got the for big kids and little kids episode number 19 that everyone is putting on here. And that's you right there, Pranav. You're putting that on, huh? You're part of putting this on yourself, huh? Already presenting as a young man. That is incredible. There's Rory. Hey, Rory. I didn't know you were here. Do you want to talk a little bit more about it?
Yeah, just really looking forward. We're getting more and more children presenters, which is what this was always about. Craig Gregory, he counts as a children presenter as well. So he's an honorary child, as am I. So we would love people to come. It's more like a club. There's not that many people that come to the session, but I believe, we're up to session 19. I believe that children can do, and they've already done amazing things. I really think it's such a cool platform. We don't use multimedia enough. We can do some really great things. So please come along, have a look. I can't get my kids interested, but maybe you can get yours.
That's fantastic. Thank you. This is just another example of how great this community is. It doesn't matter how little you are or big you are. Everyone
Rory,
can be a part of it.
I think we have a solution to your thing. You cannot get your kids involved in this community, and you can't get them interested. At the Scottish Summit, me and my dad are presenting a session on how to get your kids interested.
I'll be there. Looking forward to it.
That's awesome. Would you like to present on this call, young man, sometime yourself?
Yes, I would.
All right. That sounds great. Hey, Rory, can you
Yes.
connect me? Can you connect us all, and we'll get that lined up?
Leave it with me.
Awesome. Consider it done. That's great. Super. Very good. Well, we're looking forward to that. Some other things going on that you can learn about in Power Apps too. The next one is the Power Addicts Hangout. Tons of folks on this call identify as a Power Addict as well as myself. And so you can go to the Power Addicts Hangout, and it's a call much like this one where everyone gets together and shares what they're doing with Power Apps. So a great place to learn about that too. We also have the Less Code, More Power video series brought to us by Donna and Sarah. And that's a shorter format, 5 to 10 to 15 minute deep dives on a single topic. So you may find that that is helpful for you too. And that brings us to the end of the call and the end of the year. And so again, I'd just like to say thank you to everybody. The third year in a row we've done this. Every time we get on this call, it's such positive energy and fun and helpfulness. And I'm just really happy to be part of this community with all of you. And I can't wait to keep it going in the new year. So have a great holiday. I hope you have a great vacation and get all recharged. And we will see you all on January 19 next year at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Thanks again for coming.